So, hello everybody. Let's get started with today's webinar. So, even if it's very cold outside the window here in Sweden, we warmly welcome you to today's webinar held by CrossControl. The topic for today is Enterprise Connect, System Design and Configuration. And I am Ken Lindfors, Global Software Product Leader at CrossControl, and assisting me today here is also Jesper Melin. He's a Senior Software Systems Developer here at CrossControl. So we will together lead you through this webinar today. And if you have any questions during this session, please type them in the chat window and we will try to answer them during the webinar. And this presentation will also be available later on YouTube channel, so we will put it on that afterwards. The session today is divided into 3 parts. First, we will go through the LinX Software Suite, the software platform, which is more a general overview of the software platform that CrossControl provides to the customers. And then we will dig into one of the modules within the suite, which is called the Enterprise Connect, which is the telematics solution. And we will finalize the webinar today with a hands-on application configuration, and that is done by Jesper, which is a pretty cool part that I hope that you will participate with us with. So let's get started with the LinX Software Suite first, which is our application software platform. And let's start with the background for why we provide the software platform at all. And that comes from the trend of the industry where the increase of software content is becoming more and more dramatic in terms of lines of code and time to market, and it is suffering if you would start from a white blank sheet of paper every time when developing the application. There are lots of electronics and software in the vehicles. And now this slide shows the automotive industry, but the heavy vehicle industry is following that same trend. So in order to cope with the speed and cope with the effort and time to market, we have realized that we need to provide a software platform that makes it simpler and easier and faster for our customers to go to market. So our response to that need is what we call the LinX Software Suite, which is a modular and integrated software platform which our customers use to build attractive and user-friendly applications with rich functionality that also acts and looks very modern. It's modular in the sense that you need to select the modules. You only need to select the modules that you need, and they are all integrated and work together, and they are sharing the data between each other so that 1 + 1 = 3. We have also selected some modules to be configurable to balance and optimize development speed and maintenance effort with the freely programmable parts. It's also open in the sense that we provide standard tools, we provide standard programming languages and standard communication protocols to enable you to realize your imagination, with no locking in to CrossControl as sole supplier or providing any configurator that sets the limits for what you can achieve. So let's open the lid to see what hides within the LinX Software Suite. And we usually picture the LinX as a flower, as you see here, with the different modules. So LinX Software Suite contains, as it says, a suite, different modules, and you also see the data engine in the center. So I will go through them briefly. We start with the UX Designer, I should also say that all these modules are run on the same device, so that they can share the data on the device, and they can also share data between different devices, uh, depending on the system architecture. So we start with the UX Designer, which is the let's say most popular module that our customers use today. UX Designer is our packaging of it's mainly used for the graphics application. It's based on Qt, which is we use the open source version of Qt. There is a commercial version as well, and it's Qt is the world's most widely used graphics framework and engine. It's used both on desktop applications, and also now very popular in the automotive industry for dashboards and infotainment screens, etc. So we're using Qt as a base, but we have packaged that into a virtual machine for easy installation. So you install it and get started within no time. Uh, we have also added predefined startup scripts and wizards for how to create new projects, so that you can start with any of the hardware products that we provide, and you can use UX Designer for all of them. We've also packaged this with a set of graphics components, examples. We have a knowledge base which tells and describes different ways of realizing day-to-day challenges. We continue with Codesys. Codesys is a soft PLC, and it's very good for making control applications. It uses a different way of programming and configuring the application, since it complies to the IEC standard 61131-3, which is the global PLC standard. It also contains 5, 6 different programming languages, or let's say configuration modes, depending on your let's say legacy knowledge and what you want to do. It has a great integration of many different field buses, and not only for mobile vehicle industry, but also for the process industry. So that's also very widely used on both controllers and on displays. On the displays, you can also use the visualization for doing some graphics, and the graphics can be done pretty good and pretty well. However, UX Designer is the very modern. You can create very modern user interfaces, like smartphone look-alike user interfaces, with this smooth interfaces with transitions and transformations, animations, and things that you expect and find in modern smartphones today. However, Codesys, you can do similar things, but not as modern, but works fine. Combining UX Designer, or let's say it like this, Codesys contains already out of the box fieldbus functionality with a kind of open J1939 Modbus and Profibus, Profinet, and I think maybe 10 more different field buses. But in UX Designer, where you use Qt, you can access the CAN bus for raw CAN messages, but no more. So if you want to do modern user interfaces and using UX Designer, we have added the module Field Bus Access, which gives a very easy way to basically configure the CAN bus for which messages and signals that you want to access, or both read and write. So it's a great combination using Field Bus Access together with UX Designer. It's also a configurator within UX Designer, so where you can configure the Field Bus Access which signals and messages that you're interested in using. Another module within the LinX software suite is Smart Connect, which is our response to the current need for customers that want to have a smartphone app connected to their machine or their car today, where the OEM can easily make an app that he or she can provide to their customers to connect to the machine. Basically, it's good for applications and functions like diagnostics and service purposes, and for monitoring the content and the workflow of the machine. The good thing here is also that it is integrated within UX Designer, so you don't need to learn any more new tools. You just use UX Designer in the same way as you do for creating great applications for our displays. You can reuse all the graphics components and assets and all other software as well. And you can just select another target for building for Android devices, both phones and tablets, and also for iOS devices. Next one is Enterprise Connect, which is our telematics IoT cloud service solution. And I will have a separate presentation about that a bit later during this webinar. So I don't go through it much more right now. However, you see the orange center of the flower, which is data engine. That's basically the data exchange module that is taking care of the moving of the data between the different modules here. So for example, you can easily combine UX Designer and Field Bus Access if you want to show data from the bus, show that on the screen. And also if you want to show that on a smartphone that you have access to, then you just combine this with a data engine. So that takes care of the data shuffling between the different modules. That is, yeah, it's a very good and convenient integration. Even Enterprise Connect is configured in the UX Designer so that you, and I will come back to that, but you use UX Designer to configure what kind of KPIs and signals that you're interested in pushing to the cloud and also retrieving from the cloud. Yes. So how does the platform relate to the different hardware? The LinX Software Suite is the platform for develop applications on the CrossControl devices. It ranges for and supports all sizes of displays, ranging from 3.5 up to 15 inch, both for the ARM-based platform and for the Intel-based platform. We have also integrated links on the communication modules, the CrossLink AI and CrossLink TG. The CrossLink AI needs to be combined with the displays. It does not contain any software itself, so it's an add-on, let's say an add-on communication box connected to the USB port on each display that you want to have wireless connectivity. The CrossLink TG is a standalone telematics unit which contains a Linux operating system and CPU and software execution power itself. So there we have the LinX Software Suite also deployed. That also include actually Qt. Qt is not only for graphics, it also has many other convenient libraries and software parts that are convenient for develop applications. For example, it has a good Bluetooth connectivity module and also location module taking care of the GPS positioning and such things. And the good thing with LinX supporting all these types of devices from CrossControl. You can reuse all software assets that you have developed for one screen, for example. You can reuse them for all other screens. Even if you have any other legacy software, you can integrate it on one screen, and you can also integrate it and reuse it on the other screens. One other important thing is to reuse the skill set and knowledge set of the software developers. You only need one development tool, and so you don't need to learn any more tools. And you even the tips and tricks that you learn during the development of your application, you can reuse also on the other screens and the telematics module. Aligning the brand identity between the different products that you use here from CrossControl is also pretty easy, because the look and feel can be will be reused easily with the reuse of software assets, and also the skills that you have learned during the development of the other screens. So that's about the general part of description of the LinX Software Suite. Let's move over to Enterprise Connect, which is symbolized with the green part in the flower here. So Enterprise Connect is actually a complete cloud solution covering not only machine electronics and machine software, but much more, as you see on the picture here. So you can use it for keeping track of your fleet of machines in terms of performance, routing, common failures, usage, productivity, and other important KPIs. And it's also presented in an easy-to-use web-based interface, which can be reached from anywhere from, I would say, basically any device also. Enterprise Connect is built on the TQ5 platform, which is developed by our partner TeleQ. It's a cloud and telematics solution, basically it's meant for industrial applications. And we have been working with this since 2002 and delivering telematics solutions. And those has more or less been customized so far. So now we have integrated this into our LinX Software Suite, and that's the new thing with this. The technology in itself has been proven for many years, and it provides a standardized and highly capable cloud platform. It has a big range of and types of customers, basically from fleet owners and up to global OEMs. And as you see here, it's not only about electronics and software on the machine. Of course, it is telematics and IoT hardware that's on the machine. Connectivity we also take care of. We manage the hosting, or if you want to manage the hosting as well, that's also possible. So we have our own hosting, or we can manage hosting by Amazon or some other cloud provider. Or we can arrange so that you manage that yourself within your data center. Of course, we have a customer support and help desk that that you can reach out if you have any questions or such things. We continue to develop this all the time, not only Enterprise Connect, but the whole software platform. But specifically for your application, if you go this way with Enterprise Connect, we can help you to develop and customize user interfaces in the web interfaces, and if you want also some integration with your own ERP system and such things, we can help you with those things as well. That's pretty common. And here are some examples of use cases that can create value for you. We have divided them into 3 categories: operations, condition monitoring, and remote access. Within operations, you can use it for routing and tracing, for example. If you want to see where your fleet of machines are working, where they have been, you can see the history of where they have been driving, where they have been loading and unloading their load, etc. Geofencing is popular for theft monitoring, where you kind of make a virtual fence around a specific area, and you can get an alarm if your vehicles are moving or being moved outside that fence area. Productivity is usually the first thing that you come to think of, where you monitor the machine hours, number of lifts, fleet utilization, yeah, basically any type of KPIs that you're interested in, and sensor data that you're interested in following up afterwards. Within condition monitoring, we have diagnostics, of course. You can send alarms and warnings and things from the system, so you can keep track of that for your fleet of machines, or drill down into individual machines. You can keep track of the error log. You can see top 10 issues, for example, or top 5 issues, and use that for improving your design of the machine for the next generation shift or generation update. That goes pretty close to the mechanical parts trending, where you can see the wear out trends and what is needed to be, let's say, greased, and you will probably learn a lot and get new understanding of how your machine is being used. Prognostics, for example, spare parts, is for yeah, basically proactive orders so that you don't have a downtime of the machine, which usually is very expensive. So you order the spare parts in advance because you have recognized that the some parts are being worn out, so they need to be changed. One a bit controversial thing that technically is possible is to monitor the driver status and behavior whenever the driver takes breaks, and if he or she drives in too rough operations. And for example, for a rental business, is good with to have the warranty handling, so you can see the rental business owner can see if the machine has been driving outside the spec, for example, either could be temperature, or if it has been exposed to any shocks uh, and such things. Remote access is a pretty new thing here. Not all of these things have been implemented yet, but some are, and we will proceed to fulfill all these things. Data drill down, if you want to have a deep remote troubleshooting, for example, so you don't need to send back any units or send any service guide to the actual machine, which could be out in nowhere, so to say. Push software, new software updates is another thing that we have implemented, and we also demonstrated that on the Bauma trade show recently. Not only software, but could be documentation or configuration files, and also in the other direction, so that if you produce log files on the machine, you can upload them to the cloud, so that you can look at them and analyze them afterwards. Remote desktop is another thing. It's not implemented yet, but we see a great value with the possibility for, let's say, taking control over the display and some other the telematics gateway, for example, to look into the display and actually see what is happening when running the machine. unlocking new features is another thing that is a, it's a possibility for you if you create um, business model where you sell it as a standard first, and then you can add features which is still locked, but the customer can buy new features, and then you are able to unlock those from remote. And the help desk is one important thing for service, of course. And let's say all above remote access features are supporting improved help desk functionality. And work orders can be pushed to the machine. That's also one thing with remote access. So all these things are combined. It works very well so far. Not everything is implemented yet, but that will come during the year. The different values is we have also divided into different categories here. So during the development phase, as I told you earlier, the configurator for configuring the Enterprise Connect, which kind of values and KPIs that should be transferred to the cloud, is done within the UX designer, and that's something that Jesper will show you later on during this webinar. And you can start with our products not using Enterprise Connect, but due to the LinX Software Suite, the architecture and the loosely coupled architecture, it's possible to just add Enterprise Connect as a component at a later state. There is no locking in here. I mean, you can use our cloud service, or you can actually use your own cloud service if you have one, or if you have some other supplier that has a good cloud solution, you can use that as well. So no locking in here. And we also have a sandbox that you can use, so you can use that at a very early stage, so that you can get started in more or less in no time. On the machine, we have the hardware flexibility. We have different ways of connecting to the cloud service. As you saw on the other picture, we have the CrossLink TG and the CrossLink AI, and there are also two other options which our customers are using today. That's combining our IO module Crossfire IX, which has Wi-Fi connectivity, and connect that to a smartphone, and the smartphone acts as a bridge to the cloud. The same goes with the CC Pilot VI. That's the absolutely smallest display, the 3.5 inch that we have, which has one of the versions is having a Bluetooth connectivity. So one customer is currently using that one together with a smartphone. We have more customers on the way with the same kind of solution. So it works well. It's just different ways of connecting to the cloud. If you use the 3G and 4G modem, you need to somehow handle the SIM cards. If you either use eSIMs or let's say physical SIM card handling. So we can help you with taking care of the SIM card handling in our production, and or you can handle them yourself. So that's the flexibility. And the values, if we just look at on the cloud side, the cloud that we provide is built on a modern, robust technology with Microsoft.NET, C# and Microsoft SQL Server. Also, as you saw on the picture, and one important thing is the GNSS or GPS positioning. So you want to know where your vehicles are right now and where they have been. We provide Google Maps out of the box, which is covering more or less the whole world. We have the globalization support fully implemented with different time zones. We have multiple languages support and the metric conversions between dates and numbers and weights and things, so that you can have the local one shown on for different users depending on which kind of user you are and where you're located in the world. We have pretty complex right management support because bigger organizations have different types of roles and owners. You have engineers, you have end users, you have rental owners, you have dealers, and you have fleet owners, and all these types of roles needs to have different access to different data. And that's basically up to you to decide. But our Enterprise Connect supports to build these hierarchical structures. The server hosting can be done either by yourself, or we can do that within our house, or we can provide and manage that with Amazon or some other cloud service provider. Whenever you buy this as a start, you get basic and standard user interface, but you can included in the offer is also to have a basic customization with colors and themes and logo types, so that your customers are recognizing you as the web service provider. Cybersecurity is one important thing, of course, and depending on what you want to do, we can encrypt the communication. And one other, let's say, architectural strategy is that we have limited so that it's the telematics gateway that is the initiator of all communication. So basically, we close down all the interfaces on the telematics gateway, so that no unwanted party can access to the machine. We can also provide SIM cards that are pre-programmed to only 1, 2, 3, or 4 IP addresses, so that we know that they are not connecting to somewhere else. And you can start low, basic, but you can also grow with the flow. The cloud backend has an open programming interface, so that you can integrate your own ERP system or some other system. Like if you have your own business intelligence platform for analyzing the data, big data, you can integrate that BI into our web interface, so that it looks, let's say, seamless for the end user. It's also scalable in terms of servers and clustering these servers, etc. And if needed, we can also customize the web interface exactly to your needs. But as a start, I think it's good to use the standard one that comes with the standard package. Okay, let's go into the more technical things here. This is showing the configurator for where you configure the data from the machine that is being transferred to the cloud. So what you see here is actually a Qt creator. That's the graphics tool for making graphics user interfaces. But as you see on the left side, you see lots of icons in the dark colored quick bar. You see the 3 icons in the middle, so to say. You see Data Engine, Fieldbus Access, and Enterprise Connect. Those modules we have added to the Qt creator to facilitate easy configuration of the system. So Jesper will go through these things in more detail very soon. But as a description here, basically we work with transmission sets, which is a set of signals from the data engine that is being sent at the same time to the cloud. And when to send those data is defined by the triggers. So we have defined also a trigger editor on the right side, where you define the conditions for when to send each transmission set. So as you see in the flower in the top right corner, you see the green EC module. That's Enterprise Connect, and that is basically just reading the data engine signal, the orange part in the center, and then it is transmitting the data in line with what has been configured on this view here. And after this configuration has been done, there is a configuration file being created. So that one is being downloaded to the actual device. And then there is a runtime module taking care of that and basically do what you have defined here in the configuration phase here. The same goes with the field bus access. You define the different messages on the CAN bus, and you attach them to different KPIs within the data engine so that they become available in the Enterprise Connect and basically to all other LinX modules here. For example, UX Designer for also showing the data coming on the CAN bus, you show that also graphically on the screen. But as said, Jesper will come back to that. We will not have so much time in the end of showing the actual web interface, so I will just quickly go through that now and here in PowerPoint format. So when you log in, you will see first a dashboard of the different parts of the web interface and the web modules, because the web interface is also here divided into different modules. And for this example application, we have 5 different modules: operation, insight, safety and alarm, vehicle control, and administration. And we have this is basically just showing the top level information about these things for my fleet of machine that I'm allowed to see. If you just go into operation, for example, we see map with the different vehicles. In my fleet of machine, I have on the right side, you see I have 4 machines. I have one which is a CC truck. That's the example that Jesper will show you shortly. And then we have actually 3, we have added 3 reach stackers. And those are, in this case, just simulated. So data are being simulated so that and generated so that you can use the web interface and show what can be done. Going into insights, basically that's analysis where you can see the different KPIs over different time periods. So you see here, you see running hours, idle hours, total distance, and fuel used. That's for your whole fleet of machine. You can also dig into single and individual machines. And that's a category of utilization, as you see in the right part of the screen. You have utilization, you have another category called fuel, and one is time, and you have some more. So this is where you visualize this and drill down into different KPIs. Going into service and maintenance, this is service and maintenance view where you can see information about the different work orders, the service, alarms, and inspections and things for your fleet of machines. So you can monitor and you can also set the different intervals and different things, basically manage the service and maintenance from here. And you can also drill down and see individual vehicles. So this is the dashboard for a individual vehicle, where it's located on the map currently, what kind of state it is right now, and you can see the odometer and basically all other stuff with the what's the current health status of this machine. And that's about it for Enterprise Connect. And I will now hand over to Jesper, who will lead the hands-on application configuration. And I will just reveal shortly that the green parts of the LinX Software Suite will be included here, included the data engine, of course, that is being used all the time when using multiple modules within the LinX Software Suite. So yeah, I think Jesper will tell you more. Thank you very much for listening so carefully so far.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Jesper Melin. I work here at CrossControl as a senior software systems developer. I have been given the opportunity to show you a bit more hands-on how you actually use our tool chain to create something. And first off, I want to start to show you like the scenario, what we want to achieve in this presentation. So we are going to have a truck, and with this truck, we're going to have there are some sensors attached to it for angle, the various fluids, the weight in the cargo. All this data is available on the CAN bus. And well, of course, we want to get access to that, and we're going to use field bus access for that in the end. And Ken earlier briefly mentioned that we're going to have there are transmission sets within the Enterprise Connect. We're going to have 2 of them, and one is going to include some various fluid level information. The second one is going to include the cargo weight and also the position of the truck. We're gonna choose for one of them. We're gonna send the information repeatedly or a cyclic, and the other one is gonna be transmitted based on some various values, more or less. We're gonna write an expression to send. All of this will be performed within our LinX Software Suite UX Designer, so you will see a preview of that. And during my presentation here, I'm gonna talk a bit of a workflow, which you can also use for yourself. I'm gonna start doing some configuration of what data do we actually want to receive from the CAN bus and make available to the application. Secondly, I'm gonna create a UI which presents those values. And then in the end, we actually gonna get this data from somewhere. Since, well, I'm using a laptop, we're gonna actually use some virtual values, but we will take that as the last step. The system itself, it's gonna consist of various parts. It's gonna, of course, include the data engine. We're gonna have an application, and we're also gonna have Enterprise Connect. That's what I'm here to talk about, so it's convenient. We will use the Fieldbus Access to get a hold of the data, and we will feed the data to Fieldbus Access through a virtual CAN network and all with some simulated values. But this is going to make, we're going to see that in the end. But my main focus for this presentation will actually be looking at the data engine, application, also the Enterprise Connect. So don't expect a full-blown tutorial how you use the Fieldbus Access in the end. Okay, I think that's enough for the case, so let's head over to our development environment instead, so which I have started here. I'm gonna put that in a full screen just to, well, have it a bit more space to work with. Okay, first things first, we need to create a project to work in, so I'm gonna create that in Qt Creator. So let's start that one. And now we started here with a empty canvas, so we need to start adding some stuff here. And the first thing, we need to create a new project. So I will head over to the file and create one. There are some various templates here, and we are going to use the CrossControl project templates. It gives us all the things we need, which will make these things much easier. And we're going to go with Quick 2, because in the end, we are going to write some QML to present the UI with. We need to give it a name, so let's call it webinar demo. Oh, I already have that, so let's call it webinar demonstration. Let's go ahead with that. This display resolution is not important at the moment, so I will just briefly walk over that. We will do all of these things in the virtual machine, so I will only select that we want to use the desktop kit for this example. Project management, no need for that, so let's wrap it up with a finish. So now we have our project we want to work with, and the first thing we need to do in order to work with this project, because the project itself is not aware of our tool chain, so we need to head over to the data engine section, and we need to connect our tool chain to it. And that is done on the right side of the screen. We can see that the current active project within Qt is actually the one we created, but it's not yet connected, so let's do that by opening the active project. There we go. They are now linked together, and we can actually start to do some work. We want to get the data from somewhere, and the somewhere is going to be field by success. And so we will head over to the next tab for that. For this presentation, I will actually not go through how you configure the field by success. We can have hours of talk with this, but to save some time and also show the import capabilities, I'm going to import a pre-made configuration for field by success. So we do import. I'm going to find the one which I have preferred for this. So let's open that up. Okay, perfect. So now we have data which can be received from the CAN bus, and field by success will read this. The import feature is very good because, for example, if I'm not very good to configure a CAN bus and I'm not really sure what we actually want to read from it, someone else that is much better at it can provide that file to me, and I can actually work on the application and make it available for the cloud instead. So it's you can divide the work in that manner. But okay, let's take a look here what we have actually been given here, what we can work with within the application. So we have been offered the engine speed, we have the cargo weight, pitch angle, fuel level, we have some washer fluid level here also. We have the engine coolant level, engine oil level, and lastly we have the position of the truck, which is the longitude and latitude. So this is the data we're going to work with, and from this point we actually don't need to do anything more in this view. We are done. We have all the values which we need to continue on. And to continue on, we are going to head over to the Enterprise Connect view, and that is also found on the left side in the Qt Creator. So let's head over there. So now we are going to do the fun stuff. We are going to select actually what data we want to transmit and when we want to do it. So our workflow within this window is going to be from left to right. So we will start with the transmission sets. And I mentioned briefly in the introduction and in the case introduction that we are going to have 2 of them. So let's add 2 immediately. 1, 2, here we go. We're going to give them a name, and I will call the first one levels, because this will include the various fluid levels. The second one, I'm going to call it weight. And so now we have the transmission set. So the left side is done. We're going to focus on the middle part, and I'm going to start with the levels in this case. I want to have in total of 4 signals, which is read from field by success or read from the CAN bus, presented to the application through field by success. So there are four in total I'm interested in. So I'm going to add 4 new signals here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these are given a standard name, but these are not the ones we actually want. We want something else. We want those that which were created in the field by success view. And the first one is going to be the fuel level. And as you see, it automatically finds it, and I can actually push tab to almost. We're going to select it, fuel level 1, press tab, and the parts is automatically filled in. So I'm going to fill in the rest of them before I continue. There we go. Now we got all the data. Now there are some couple of other fields we need to fill in here. The signals are the name within kind of like locally within the system, but these are not, they might be cryptic names and it might not be the best one which you present to the cloud. So the register tab or register field is where the name we will be using on the cloud instead. So I will call this fuel level, for example, the first one. I'm gonna remove that little character in the end there, and I'm just gonna fill in the rest here. There we go. I know for a fact that these are presented in percentage. These are from 1 to 100, so I will add a unit for them. The value type we're not gonna mention, we're not gonna use it this time. We can leave it at undefined. And lastly, we can actually give these values a description, which you can see in the web interface. So I will just also quickly give these a description. Okay, there we go. We are done with the middle part. Now we want to decide when we actually want to transmit this, and that's done with the last section, the third one. And for this specific set, I actually want to transmit these cyclic. I want to send them every 10 minutes. I want to sample the values and prepare them and send them off to the cloud. So we will write 600 here for 10 minutes. And that's it for the first set. Really easy, fast to do it with the auto completion. And now we will head over to the second transmission set and add the signals to that and also a trigger, but it is going to be a different trigger this time. And for this, I want to use 3 different values. I want the cargo weight, and then I want the position, the longitude and the latitude. So 1, 2, 3, got the signals. And then we can start writing those which we have available through Fieldbus Access. Select the name, tab, we start with you. This one is called latitude. Tab, we got right data type and everything. We got the longitude also. Tab, we got the right data type. And we're gonna call this, we're gonna give them a register name also. There we go. The cargo weight is gonna be in kilograms, so let's do that. The position itself really doesn't need a unit, so we'll leave that out. It's possible to do that also. And the description is gonna be cargo weight for this. I mean, let's call the other ones for what they are referring to. Okay, perfect. We are almost done with this set. The last thing is to add a trigger for it. We don't want to use, in this case, we don't want to use cyclic. We want to actually use a trigger or expression trigger, you could say. We want this to happen when our expression goes from false to true. So you have selected the positive flank, meaning that we will only trigger once, and if the condition is true multiple times, it won't trigger multiple times. It will just go when it goes from false to true. And so what is my expressions going to be like? So I was thinking that I will have engine speed as one part. And we're also going to take a look at the pitch angle of the cargo. And I also want to give the user an option to actually override the value. So for example, we will add a button later on so you can press that. Okay, let's sample the weight regardless of the engine, RPM, or what the pitch angle actually is. So we will have a few different statements in this kind of like expression tree we will create here. And I will start to change this from and to or because we're going to have an or condition between of these. First off, I will add a new operator. It's going to be an and operator, and I want to have 2 signals within this, and that's going to be the engine speed and also the pitch angle. So same way, so I'm going to start writing here, engine speed. Here we go, there we have it. Press tab, and we got the rate data type. Perfect. So let's say that this needs to be greater than, so let's say 100, just to make sure that the engine is actually running. Secondly, I want to use the pitch angle as a variable within this expression. And I want this to be less than 10 degrees, so it's somewhat flat at least before we actually sample the weights. Okay, so now I want to add the final piece, and that's to give the user an option to override this. So I will select the OR operator, and I'm gonna add a new trigger to that. So this is gonna be a data engine signal. So what's cool with this is that you can create signals from this view also, even because this override button, it's not available anywhere since before. So we need to create that, and it's easy, super easy to create. So we're just gonna call it pitch override. I'm gonna give that a data type of bool, which is typical. So it's gonna be true and false. And we're gonna represent true with a 1 in this case. This means that this transmission set will be transmitted either if the engine speed and full engine speed is greater than 100, pitch angle is less than 10 degrees, or it will be transmitted if we say so, thanks to this override signal. The last thing we actually need to do here is we need to connect this machine to somewhere and also name it with something. So I'm actually going to call this, and that's done in the lower left part here. So I'm going to call it CC truck, not CC track. We need to know where to connect this one to, and I have this written here beforehand. I have not memorized this. And the last thing, we need to fill in the port number. So now we have everything we need for Enterprise Connect. So now we wanted to present this to the application. Now we want to start to create an UI for this. But first, before we do that, we need to head over back to the data engine view. Because so far we have just linked our tool chains to the project, but we have not yet injected anything to the project itself. That's the thing we need to do now. And before doing the injection, since we created this pitch override signal, by default, Enterprise Connect is gonna assume that this is created. This signal type view is actually from the application's point of view, and we don't want the application to be a consumer of this signal. We want to be a producer. We want the application to be able to write to this one. So I will change it from consumer to producer. He says that, and we don't need to fill in anything else. So we have now all that we need. Now it's time to update the project. So I'm just gonna push this little update button. Stuff is happening in the background. Perfect. We're done. Nothing else we need to do here. So now we can actually head over to the graphical parts and start to fill in the application. You might remember the tree structure here before. What has happened now when I have linked the tool chain to or updated the project, we have attached a few new files. We have the configuration files, which we will use briefly, which basically contains information which we have added either from feedback success or the feedback success which we imported, or the Enterprise Connect file which we just created or configured more or less. There also going to be a few new header files and a few new source files, but for this moment, there's no need for us to dive in deeper to that. Before we start to actually write the UI, there's a couple of minor things I want to change just to make this presentation a bit easier. So I'm gonna change so the application itself doesn't run in full screen. I want this to just show rather than full screen. Secondly, I'm going to edit the QML. The QML file defines actually what the application is going to look like. So I want to do a couple of imports here. You will see why in just a moment. Let's see. It doesn't seem to be happy. Oh, I spelled with a small c. That's better. And also, I want to set the canvas size to a fixed known size. These are actually automatically set if you run this on a device, but since I'm doing this in the virtual machine, I don't want to be automatic to set. I want to set this so I can, I can easily show you. Okay, that's all we need to do in the editing the QML file. We can actually now switch over to the design view instead and take a look what we got from the start when we used our template. When we used our template, we got a few things straight up. We got an exit button, we got the name of the project in the middle, and for now we don't want anything of these, so we will just delete these, remove them. So now we are left with this black empty canvas, and we want to fill it with something. But first thing first, I want to change the color to white so we have a bright, nice background to work with. And I was thinking that we could have a grid view, grid layout to present the values. And we will use a dial to represent the engine RPM. So first thing first, I need to add a grid. It's going to host most of our values. I'm going to increase the columns to 2. So the first column is going to include the name of the value, and the second one is actually going to be the value itself. So I need to drag in a couple of these text fields, and I'm going to put them in the right one. There we go. So I will just add 12 of these, and then I will continue on. Oh, actually, let's do it like this. I'm gonna remove the second one. I see the text here is quite small, so we're gonna increase it straight away. And I actually can copy this instead. I think it's gonna go much faster. So we have 4 there, we have 8, and we have 12. And all of these are like quite crammed together, so I want to give them some more space. So let's increase the spacing between these. So there we go, a bit more to work with. So I want to show you the values here, and I'm more or less going to represent the transmission sets which we made earlier. So I'm going to enter the name here. I'm going to call this the fuel level. There we go, and just going to continue on to add the rest of them. So these were the fluids levels which we had before, and also I want to add the cargo weight, and lastly I want to add the pitch angle. Okay, so at the moment we only have these like as labels. Now we want to access the data, and this is super easy. We're gonna do a binding, and we're gonna do it right here. We're gonna set the binding, and what magically happened when we updated the project was that the toolchain injected a few new files, which makes it really easy to gain access to signals which are part of the data engine. So I can actually just write data engine dot, and the first one was the fuel level. So I will start write fuel. Oh, there we go, automatically filled in, and we're gonna write dot value. Here we go, and we're gonna press that we are done with this. So now we actually have created a binding. So the data engine, it's gonna offer the values, and the binding takes care of the rest. So when we run this in the end, you will see that the value is actually represented here. So I actually will do the same for the other ones. Just repeat what I just did. Right, I'm gonna write data engine, and this was the washer fluid level, and we want to have the value. And I just press enter to quickly close that window. We're gonna fill in the rest. This was the engine. Engine coolant. Dot value. Press enter. And then we have the last two. The cargo weight and the pitch angle. There we go. So we have most of the values here. In addition to these ones, I also want to have the engine speed. And just to make it a bit more fun, I was thinking that we could have one of these dials. And I know for a fact that the engine is going to deliver values which are roughly around 3000 RPM. So let's set the from to slightly less than that. And we're going to set the to slightly more than that. So that's 3100. And like we did before, we're going to do a binding. The engine speed dot value. And just to make it a bit more clear once we run the application, I'm going to add an additional text field which has the same binding. So because if you just run the dial, we will not see what the actual value is. So I want to have that in handy here. So we'll do a binding, and I just copy the one which we used for the dial and copy in here. We can reuse that. So we have most of the parts here. The last thing I want to add is this override button. So let's add a button, make it a little bigger so it's easy to press, don't easy to miss that. We might as well increase the font size a bit so it's easy to read. And I'm just going to call this override. And now we want things to happen when we press this, either if it's pressed or released. And to add functionality for that, we need to head over to a little lower window here in the left corner, the connections window. So while I have the button selected, I will press this plus sign 2 times to get 2 different events. And there are two events I'm interested in. It's the on pressed event and also on released. So basically something will happen when we press the button and something else will happen when we press release the button. And what do we want to happen? Well, we want to write to this pitch override signal, which we defined earlier in the Fieldbus Enterprise Connect window. And we will do the same here. We will write data engine pitch override dot value equals 1. We will do the same here. I will actually copy this first part, paste it here, but we will select it as 0. So if the button is not pressed, we're not going to override anything, but if we do press it, we want to override. And with that, that's all the graphical parts we have here. Now it's time to actually enter the third and last part of this presentation. That is to get some values to show here. And just to make sure that I have done everything right, we're going to build this once, just to make sure, and it's going to take a few minutes. And while it's doing that, I can just give you a heads up what we are going to do now. Firstly, we need to create a virtual CAN network since we are running this presentation within the virtual machine. Secondly, I'm going to do a replay of a CAN traffic because I don't have a CAN dongle attached. We need to have the data taken from somewhere. And that's going to be a CAN trace file. Okay, so everything is actually built now. So let's tie everything together, all the different pieces. So first thing, I'm going to create this virtual CAN network. Super easy, we just press the button here. Boom, done, it's created. So secondly, we need to start the data engine. This is the centerpiece in the flower which Ken presented. This is the one all the other pieces will connect to. So it's super easy. We're just gonna double click the icon on the desktop, and now it's running. And also, before I start the Fieldbus Access and Enterprise Connect, I want to have the CAN data available. So I'm gonna use the CAN replay and CAN player to open up a CAN trace. It's gonna run forever, and we also want a verbose output so we can actually see what is going on here. So now we actually can see that okay, we have data on the CAN bus, still just in the virtual one, but now we want to have Fieldbus Access give it access to this. So how do we do that? Well, as we did when we injected the toolchain, or when we updated the project, we got the configuration files. So we have these two. And the easiest way to actually run field bus access with the correct configuration is actually that we will show the containing folder where this configuration is, jump over there, and we will simply take this file, drag it on top of the field bus access icon on the desktop, and it will start running. And we will also see that in the view of the data engine that the field bus access created a few signals, and these are the signals which is in the configuration file. Okay, now we have the field bus access running. We also want to have the Enterprise Connect running, because that's one of the main pieces throughout this talk. So let's do the same procedure here. We're going to show the containing folder where the Enterprise Connect configuration file lives, and we're going to do the same here. We're going to drop it on the Enterprise Connect icon. Now stuff starts to happen. So now it executes, it's listen to what is available in the configuration file, and will start to evaluate our expressions. So now the last piece, we want to actually show these values for the user in the UI. So since this all is already built, I'm just going to press the run button, and we will have the values presented. Super easy, done in less than half an hour. You will see that these are float values. They are very long sometimes, and you can actually write in the QML that you want to have a certain precision of how many decimals. I didn't do that, so they are going to be quite long in this case. But we can see that all things moving around here, and we have the override button we can press, and depending on if the pitch angle is greater or less than 10, and well, the engine speed is always going to be higher than 100. It's going to fulfill that we transfer the second transmission set with the weight and the position, but we also have the option to actually override that in the case that the angle is greater than 10%. It's the result of how we set up the expression. So, well, it's that easy. It's we got, as I said, we got here about half an hour from having a pre-made configuration file for field bus access. What data do we want to have? We gave that to Enterprise Connect, and also had it easily accessible in our application. And we can even write, as we have shown here with the override button, things back to Enterprise Connect. This could even go out to the field bus access. There are many ways how this can be used. And with that, I will thank you for your time. I hope this presentation was it gave you some new insights how to use our tools, and perhaps some new ideas how you can implement your solution using our toolchain. And I will leave off to Ken for a few final words here.
So thank you very much, Jesper. That was a great performance. It's really nice to see. So hope you everybody has stayed tuned, and that you got some really nice information, and appreciated the webinar that you have been listening to and looking at. So we will, as I said in the beginning, also put this webinar on our YouTube channel at a later stage. We will come back to that later on. And yeah, I would just say thank you very much for listening in, and have a nice day. Bye.